So the NFL playoffs continue this weekend, and Craig has a few jokes because my Eagles are sitting at home. And I wonder when his Falcons never, ever made it. But things will get interesting this week. Shout out to all the black quarterbacks that are still out there this weekend that are getting things done. That's a story that needs to be acknowledged, how the black quarterback is really
year of the black quarterback
taking over for 2020. But Saturday and Sunday will both give us a few good games. Now, as we mentioned, few surprising turnouts that took place. Unfortunately, both our teams are home, and the Saints and the Eagles. B. Diddy is feeling good, however, because his Ravens are still in play. But don't get cocky yet. Don't get cocky yet, because we shall see.
Stop Shaq, man.
Saturday night, we have two games, and we'll start off with the Minnesota Vikings heading to the Bay Area to take on Jimmy G.
Porn star Jimmy.
And the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the 49ers have a pretty prominent defense. They've been looking like the Monstars, to say the least, out there. Bosa in the game. Yeah, I mean, they had some injuries, and a lot of those players will be coming back. D4 looking to be he might be looking to redeem himself. And Minnesota picked up a surprising victory against the Saints, so they're running with a lot of momentum right now. Kirk Cousins, he has one question. He only wants to know, do you like that? Or, you know what I'm saying? Whatever his little phrase is. He's looking to keep his momentum rolling. Adam Thielen suffered an ankle injury reportedly in practice, so he may literally be one step behind the 8 ball on Saturday.
They said they're not worried about him.
And then we'll see what the Minnesota defense is able to do. We'll be able to see what Minnesota defense is able to do against what I'm assuming is going to be a run-dominant team from Kyle Shanahan. And he'll kind of get some play action in there with Jimmy G. But, gentlemen, what are your thoughts on the first game that we have right here, Minnesota and San Fran? I'm going to actually start with you, B. Diddy, and actually come around the table. What are your thoughts? Who you got in the game? And give me an MVP. Give me your MVP of the game, and give me your final score of the game.
I think the player of the game is going to be Deebo Samuels.
Wide receiver for the 49ers, okay.
I think it'll be Deebo, and I say the porn star leads them to prominence. 31, Kirk Cousins back to being himself. 17. Kirk Cousins back to being himself. It was an admiration for those 2 passes that he threw on Sunday.
That was hell of a couple throws. Now.
Yeah, I mean, he had 3 passes he made. That was actually good.
AT, did they make you a believer on last weekend? Did Minnesota make you a believer, or who are you going with in that game?
They just made him sad.
No, just made me mad. Like they did 2 years ago. And unfortunately for them, their next game after the Minnesota Miracle, they got slammed, slaughtered, smashed in Philadelphia.
Yes, indeed.
The same is going to happen on Saturday. Enjoy your 6 days, Viking fans. You deserve to win on Sunday. Some questionable calls, some questionable play calling by Sean Payton. Drew Brees struggled, but I got to give you credit. You got the W. But I think the one area where San Francisco will take advantage of Minnesota that New Orleans did not is at the tight end position. George Kittle has been a beast all season long. We all witnessed the play he had against the Saints, running through 3-4 guys, face mask pull, and putting them in position for the late game field goal win. Minnesota, we should have taken better advantage of Jared Cook, who was coming on late in the season, and I was surprised we didn't complete a pass to him, if I'm not mistaken, until the 4th quarter. Now, maybe he had to block a little bit more because of the pressure coming from the inside front from the Vikings, but you had to utilize your weapons in a better way as far as I was concerned, and not wait as late as New Orleans did to try to get going in that game, because I told my brother as we were watching the game and we kicked that first field goal, much like we did against the Rams a season ago, we got a turnover early in the game. It led to a field goal. Field goals don't win you games in the playoffs unless it's the last field goal. And kicking all those field goals early in the game put us in a position. And we missed one, if you remember. We missed the one right before the half. And if we had that one, that last field goal, we would have been playing Green Bay this week. But give Kirk Cousins credit. He got his first playoff win. It'll be his last. But the Niners will the Niners will certainly come out ready to play, and Kyle Shanahan he had a fantastic regular season, but he still has the blemish losing that Super Bowl, even though he was the offensive coordinator. He has to get that off of his schedule, and I expect them to hold nothing back in Game 1 on Saturday night.
Craig, you know so well about that 28-3 debacle that took place with Kyle Shanahan.
It always seems to go back to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it will forever. So that that's why it surprises me whenever Falcons fans have any trash to talk. You just throw those 3 magic numbers out there, 28-3, and the look of shame comes about.
Like that look right there.
But what are your thoughts? Is Kyle Shanahan going to be able to actually redeem himself in the playoffs and get that burden off of his chest, or will the 49ers be shoveling gold this weekend and staying home in the Bay Area?
I'm going to go with the 49ers in this one, and I'm going to go with the same player, Deebo Samuels.
I
think the Vikings, outside of Harrison Smith, they've been susceptible a little bit at the latter half of the season. What's buddy name from Florida State? The corner?
Oh, Xavier Rose.
Xavier Rose has had a horrible year this year.
Sound like most
horrible year this year, which is out of character because he's in my book.
He's top 5 cornerback. Top 5 cornerback.
10, calm down.
Top 5.
So
top 5 cornerback. When he's at his best. He's
prior to this year, he was top 10 for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say top 10. I'm not putting top 5. Nah.
But I think Debo's gonna get loose. You can't forget about Emmanuel Sanders. I think that.
Burton, ain't they got number 84 in the last name Burton or something like that? Kenny Burton, I think that's his name.
But George Kittle.
Born.
Kittle, I think, is going to have a good game. But this is going to come down to we have 2 very identical teams, actually. Mm-hmm. They're strong in the trenches. I think San Francisco is a little bit stronger on the defensive line than the Vikings are. But I think they're strong in the trenches. They rely on the run game, and they set up the run game to set up the pass game. It's just a matter of which a little bit better game manager are you going to see?
Yeah, is it going to be
Pornstar Jimmy or First Cousins?
Well, I'm actually going to let you know that it's going to be First Cousins because I'm going to go with an upset, and I'm going to go.
He did beat the Vikings beat y'all.
I'm going to go with Minnesota to continue on their path, and a lot of that is because of Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan has to pretty much show me. I'm not going to forget that 28-3 night and that debacle and key moments. I mean,
well, let's face it. The 49ers could have easily been the number 5 seed. Had Seattle done a better job of getting Marshawn Lynch the ball and not blowing the first and goal, forcing them to have to call a timeout or take a 5-yard penalty, delay a game. And I'm sorry, I love Pete Carroll to death, and I know we haven't gotten to the Seahawks yet. But if the game is late, I can't trust this man.
That's how I feel about Kyle Shanahan, and that's why I'm going to go with Minnesota in this matchup, and I'm gonna go 24-21 Minnesota, and my MVP is going to be Dalvin Cook, Florida State's own.
Of course, we're not surprised.
But for them to win, he does.
He's going to have to be the player of the game. Kirk Cousins is going to make a few plays in the play action and whatnot, but I think they're going to control the ball.
Play action starts with the run game.
And as you mentioned, field goals don't win the game, but I think a field goal is going to be a difference. They're going to get the last field goal on the road, and they're going to be moving. Who knows?
Dan
Bailey, former Cowboy kicker.
Dan Bailey.
Yeah.
Who's the 49ers kicker?
Robbie Gould.
Mr. Reliable.
I can't lie to you. I'll take Robbie Gould.
Robbie Gould, Mr. Reliable, but I ain't going with him.
It's honestly, whoever is more successful in the run game,
that's where it's going to be, and that's why I'm going with the Vikings.
Well, you know what? We all didn't. Mr. Raven over here was the only one. Are we coming back to that?
No, that's where we're going right now. That's the nightcap on Saturday night.
Hey,
that's the nightcap on Saturday night.
Is returning, so that's a big boost for
San
Francisco.
Yeah.
We shall see.
But
all eyes will be 8:15 Saturday night.
CBS, make sure you tune in.
In Baltimore, as the crab cakes will be rolling, as you say, the scripts will be boiled or fried, however it goes down. And folks will be in B-more looking to see if Big Trust in the gang can get it done out there. You know what I'm saying?
Or as he tries to term it, to rub it in my face, the Baltimore Saints.
That's what you call them?
Well, they had more success.
So talk to me. We will start with you because the Baltimore Ravens will be hosting the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee got the job done last week, knocking off Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and the New England Patriots.
My boy.
We saw Coach Vaber actually.
How many of you were really surprised at that, though?
No,
I wasn't really that
I wasn't at all.
surprised.
I wasn't at all. I wasn't at all. I wasn't at all.
I was surprised at how much success they did have running the football. Especially with the Patriots having.
That's what I thought their advantage would be, running the football.
Well, the Patriots had, top 3 defense this year. So I was thinking it would be a little.
But their rush defense wasn't. They was middle pack rush defense.
And they was front runners.
God, I mean, it was like Derek did what he wanted to do.
Yeah, because
So we'll talk about that. So your Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, of course, gentlemen. Is it safe to say he's the MVP this year?
No,
It's safe to say.
Well, outside of everybody in America except Bill Polian.
we know
he's a
we
natural
know
born hater.
so you
There's a reason he ain't got no
can't
job.
admit when you're wrong sometimes. Can't
He's a
just,
natural born hater.
Admit when you're wrong. You know, I used to like Polian when he was with the Colts. I was a Peyton Manning fan, but it's like, damn, brother, you got to admit when you're wrong here. Like you didn't call us.
Peyton would have had more rings if you would have gave him a little more help.
I believe that all the time. That's the difference in Peyton Manning and Tom Brady to me is Bill Belichick and you know what I'm saying. Not necessarily Tony Dungy, but the surrounding that Peyton Manning had. But
the front office is a difference.
That's another story for another day.
Yeah, it is.
Lamar
Even though he did
Jackson,
have
he's making an impact in the NFL right now, showing us that the black quarterback is here to stay. We've seen, of course, the MVP last year, black quarterback and Patrick Mahomes, put him on in Kansas City doing his thing. We'll talk about him in a moment. But your Baltimore Ravens will have a very interesting matchup on Saturday night as a very gritty and grimy Tennessee Titan team with a lot of momentum after knocking off the Super Bowl champs come in to be more and look to make a splash. I know you're going with the Ravens, but give me the key to the game and give me your final score to that game.
Stop the run.
What you just said. So look, we already know you're gonna do what New England didn't do. You're gonna stack the lineup, and we're not gonna be scared to tackle because after a while they were tired of tackling. So also you make Derrick Henry have to change directions because he can't really change directions like that. He's a 1-2
Downhill
runner.
He's a one-cut runner.
Exactly. So if you make him have to change, you have and game tackling, not arm tackling and all this. It would be all right.
Listen.
And put the ball in Ryan Tannehill's head. If Ryan Tannehill looks like Joe Montana out there on Saturday, then so be it. I just have to tip my cap on.
Come in here, we're going to talk shit.
if Ryan Tannehill looks like Joe Montana, I can't be mad about that. So I'm not trying to have Derrick Henry have
$180.
$180. I can live with $1 at a loss. I'm fine with that. Can't have $30, $40, $50, anything other than that. I'm cool. Okay. So put the ball in Stank Tannehill's hands, and let him be back to Miami like IU was there. It would be fine. And there, Mark Henry coming back? Not Mark Henry. Ingram. He comes back. He probably 15 carries probably. You know, what I'm saying Lamar does what Lamar does, and we get a W. And I'm fine.
Mark Ingram said he had the bank.
What's the score? Which score are you giving us?
Tennessee going to score some points. They're going to score some points. I say 35. I give him 20. Just be nice.
Craig, I'm gonna go with you right now as well. Who you like?
You can't be mad
in this game.
It's Alabama things. You can't be mad.
And y'all just picked up Andre Smith too.
I know. But,
he's still around.
Yeah, absolutely. We picked him up yesterday.
That's right.
Today. No, yesterday we picked him up.
That's right. Roll Tide.
Find a job. Ozzy, that's why.
Listen, look, I ain't got nothing. We can't help. We put out good players. Anyway, so I'm gonna go with Baltimore. I think that we'll win this game. Calm down. No. I think I'm gonna go with Baltimore. It's really gonna come down to who can run the football. You got two of the best.
Mark Ingram may come in limping.
That's fine. I mean, you got like 3 other running backs that they like. So I'm not worried about that. And then you still have Lamar Jackson. So it's going to come down to that. I think that Tennessee is going to try to muddy this game up the best they can.
And that plays right in our hands. We like playing like that.
Yeah. And you can do that against the Patriots, the Chiefs. Those, like, if it was the Chiefs they were playing, I would go with Tennessee. But with Baltimore, a tough team, gritty, They like this the type of team, this type of game they gonna like. They wanna get in there, stop the run, fight in the trenches. Baltimore might be the only team in the NFL right now that I feel like if you hit them in the mouth, they might hit you harder.
Because it's always and also.
I'm gonna go. So I'm gonna go with Baltimore, but I'm gonna go 28-14.
What were you about to say, Ray?
I said also with that is they're the only team that hasn't played us. So it's also a difference of playing.
It's harder to beat somebody twice.
But they haven't played us up to what they played last year. But it's hard to get ready for that kind of offense in a week. So the difference is like if we played Houston this week, we played them already. They've seen us be familiarity. But getting ready for that kind of offense and Lamar Jackson in a week, yeah, they had Mariota who could try to be your scout QB, but you know it's Mariota. He ain't good no more. So that either. So this is gonna be very, very interesting. I want to see what kind of defensive scheme that Vrabel comes up with.
How do you feel about this game, good sir?
It's not because of sentiment here, but the Ravens have certainly impressed me all season long. They've met all comers. They had a bit of a struggle early in that first quarter of the season, but down the home stretch, they've been nothing but sensational. And I do wonder about Mark Ingram's durability for this game, because the last time we had an all-star type player with a calf injury, it was much more than a calf injury, and it turned into something else. Football is a much more grueling sport than the sport of basketball, and I was talking about KD. And while I'm certainly not hoping for any further injuries to Ingram and his team, I think it goes without saying he's the heart and soul of that team. New Orleans missed him this year.
Yes, they did.
Missed him greatly.
Alvin Kamara did too.
Yes, he did. But I still think Baltimore has a lot going for it. I was just checking online to make sure what kind of weather we will be looking at for this game, because as we all know, here in Atlanta, they're already giving out potential storm warnings and maybe some tornadoes for Saturday, and it's going up the eastern seaboard. But the weather is scheduled to be 67 degrees and 20% chance of rain, which plays right into Baltimore's hands, in my opinion, although Tennessee certainly plays outdoor football and all kinds of elements. But I don't know I gave Kirk Cousins a little bit more credit, because I think playing in the NFC divisions that he had been in maybe gave him a little bit better chance of facing a team like New Orleans than what Ryan Tannehill is going to meet in the playoffs. He didn't do anything in the AFC East. That's why he's no longer in Miami. And while he has certainly been a sensation for the Titans and put a former Heisman Trophy winner on the bench, I don't expect Tennessee to be able to withstand 4 quarters of what they're going to face with Baltimore. That defense has been one of the best throughout the Jim Harbaugh days, and while they don't have John Harbaugh, excuse me, the right Harbaugh,
right.
While they have not been able to muster the same type of talent with the Lewis and Suggs and Ed Reed type of guys that they had in the past, you already have a potential Hall of Fame player in Earl Thomas already laying down some smack talk this week, saying he's ready to hit him. That is in Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry certainly isn't going to back down from anybody, because he's the biggest thing on the field. And if you must, as Brandon said earlier, I don't know why I keep calling you my brother's name, but as long as he's able to run downhill and gain his generally 7 to 9 yards a clip, the Titans will be able to hang in that ball game. But if Baltimore is able to knock him back a few yards here and there and don't let him fall forward for additional yardage, it should be a pretty good win for the home team.
I'm once again just feeling.
You a hater, man. God, you a hater.
The contrarian right here.
You the one you want me to come sit with you. That's what it is.
I mean, 20% of it is that. 20% of
but you
it.
talking about the black quarterback. 20%.
I mean, it'll still be a black quarterback around. It'll still be a black quarterback around.
Just still one around.
You know what?
I'm changing my pick. I'm going with the Titans.
But
y'all some haters.
I'm going with the Titans, but my reasons are a little different. I think that. And just me personally, I've been impressed with Baltimore this season, but I also I'm kind of suspect on who Baltimore has actually played. I think we're kind of the Browns have been dysfunctional. You played them twice. Cincinnati's been dysfunctional. You played them twice. It's been a great story in Pittsburgh, but that team has been injury ridden.
So we smacked the Rams in L.A.
The Rams are. They didn't make
Rams
the
at the
playoffs.
crib.
The Rams didn't make the playoffs.
And we smacked Green Bay. I mean, not Green Bay. We smacked New England.
And we see what New
We
England
saw
is.
they were frauds.
Yeah, I believe
Okay.
I believe
And
New
you beat
England
San
was fraud.
And you beat San Francisco.
I'll give
And we beat the Bills.
I'll give you the San
Bills
Francisco
at the house,
win,
too.
but I got San Francisco coming home this weekend as well. I'm not impressed with the teams that you guys have beat. I like Lamar Jackson a
So
lot.
we beat
I
the
think he's
Eagles
a
and been
great
fine?
player. No, our team was depleted. No, I'm sorry. I mean, I wasn't impressed. You know, I
That
knew.
would've been a gimme one.
Yeah, I knew we wasn't going to really withstand the test of time. But I'm not buying. I look for
San
Marcus
Francisco
Peters.
too, so,
Marcus Peters is going to have a J.R. Smith moment. And I like Marcus Peters. I'm just telling I'm telling you what it's going to be. I like Earl Thomas. As he mentioned, he does want to hit somebody, but he's not Earl Thomas from the Legion of Boom anymore.
If Earl Thomas
And
beat
Derrick
Derrick Henry in
Henry
that
might
hole,
put-
it's going to be an early day
it's
for
gonna-
Earl Thomas.
early
I'll
day.
tell you that right now. Because he don't like tackling low, and Derrick Henry don't like falling
This
low.
this is what's going to be the key, really, to me. The outside. I like the receivers on Baltimore, but they're also very young and they haven't been in this moment. And as we keep talking about, Tennessee is gritty. Tennessee, they're going to get up in the face. They're going to bump and run. Lamar Jackson going to be scrambling back there, but he's not going to be making those miracle plays that he was making down the field against the suspect competition that I believe that he's seen. So I'm in this game as well. I'm going with the underdog, and I like Tennessee.
Yeah, but the difference is when we throw downfield, we're not throwing to the receivers. We're throwing to tight ends.
Well, we'll
Y'all
see.
forget about Mark Andrews, Nick Ball, and Hayden Hurst.
I'm not forgetting about him, but
And if you go on top, you got Hollywood. So
yeah, Hollywood gonna be Holly Grove this weekend.
Hollywood ain't even the fastest player on the field.
He gonna be Holly Grove this weekend.
So Adoree.
That's why it's gonna be
I was
interesting.
about to say he ain't.
I mean, I'm not saying he's not, but
And it ain't like the Titans secondary is not.
I ain't say
Good.
I won't say they were good, but hey, man, look, it's different how to face his team in a week.
Yeah, you gotta
I'm telling you
let
now.
the Ravens fan go with the Ravens, and I'm
I'm gonna let you go with him.
We
but
gonna-
you better get a message out to Earl Thomas. Don't hit Derrick Henry high.
Sunday.
You went besides 11 now.
It's game tackling.
Sunday's
early day for
matchup.
you.
We got two matchups
Going
on
middle
Sunday. We
fingers
got to
on
talk
that.
about Houston. Somebody's team all of a sudden will be taking on Kansas
just
City.
found out about-
Battle of the black quarterbacks.
We just found out about this.
As Deshaun Watson will be taking on Patrick
Newly
Mahomes.
favorite
We're gonna
team.
run through these ones quickly because I want to get to the black coaches topic. So for these two games, I want to get MVP and score. MVP and score. And AT, we'll start with you on this one, sir. Battle of the black quarterbacks in KC. We'll have Houston heading to take on the Chiefs. Does Andy Reid advance, or will we see Deshaun Watson do his thing in the clutch?
As much as I like Deshaun Watson, I cannot trust his head coach.
Bill O'Brien.
Andy Reid is certainly a much better tactician than Bill O'Brien is. And let's face it, if not for the blunders of the Bills late in that game, they would have walked away with the victory last week. I think Patrick Mahomes is ready to take that next step and to exceed what they were able to do in the AFC Championship game. This is the first step, however, and I think you'll have Kansas City winning at home. I don't know what the elements will be in that game. I know it's going to be cold, but you have to. Can Houston be able to go into KC and play under those elements, meaning that 12th man? And they have the loudest crowd in the league, and they're used to that. And we'll find out if Houston is. And if Houston's able to get that W, then Houston might be a serious contender to get to Miami. But I don't think it'll be the case, and I think Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs take this one maybe 30-20.
Brandon, piggyback on that. Who you like in that matchup?
I'm going with Patrick throwing Holmes. You know what I'm saying? And I see one of the LSU players making a big defensive play in a crunch. That would be the Honey Badger. Give me a turnover.
He's been playing big all season.
We know Deshaun. One thing he is prone to turn the ball over at some point in time during the game. So I go to Honey Badger. Give me a pick six. Chiefs.
Well, we're gonna not to jump over what you were saying. I'm also going to be interested to see how this Chiefs defense has it really improved, because everyone says it has. They lost some key players, D Ford being one of those guys. They're going to have to really maintain Deshaun in the pocket, because what was the key play that provided them the victory?
Scramble
They
play,
had
extra
him.
life.
All you had to do was wrap him up. And the dude was able to finagle his way through and complete the pass, and the rest of this is history. So if the Chiefs defense do not have a lot of breakdowns, yes, they should take the victory.
What's your score?
Chiefs 35-24.
Then we come to you, Mr. Armstrong. Battle of the black quarterbacks. We've talked a lot about both of these young men. Early in the season, we had Watson in the MVP candidate race. We talked about Mahomes possibly keeping his name in the mix before he got hurt, and then Lamar exploded. So we're familiar with both of these guys. Who do you like in this matchup? Does KC advance, or will we see Houston lifting off in the Texans, Bun B, Travis Scott in the game, going to the AFC Championship?
All Houston rappers.
Oh, because they've been running out. They've been coming out. Bun B they've been all coming out to the game, out the tunnel with the Cats.
I'm going to say Bill O'Brien's going to make a phone call and get that defensive scheme from Bill Belichick from last year. And I'm going to go with Houston in this one.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm keeping it a bug, I haven't seen Patrick Mahomes do anything in the playoffs. Also, we have to go, your head coach made one Super Bowl in how many years? How many NFC championship games?
I mean, that was Donovan McNabb. That's another issue.
It's company.
It was McNabb, but that's another thing.
It's company, man.
Yeah, it was McNabb.
I'm gonna go with listen. Deshaun Watson, you're gonna have to beat him for me to prove it to me.
Okay. So what's the score? What you got in that one?
I'm gonna go
H-time.
27-24. I'm gonna go late field goal. Houston wins this game.
H-time.
I'm rocking with you, gentlemen. I also believe Patrick Mahomes will get it done.
But I tell you what, Jordan.
I think Andy Reid. Andy Reid to me is always. I've always thought he was a great mind and a genius as well. I was never a McNabb fan. I thought McNabb held the Eagles back. You know what I'm saying? I always thought McNabb held the Eagles back. Like,
Andy with the Waffle House play sheet.
yeah. That's it. I see my Philly native brother over there. Yeah. No, we had our best year.
If you would have had McNabb if you would have had Vic instead of McNabb, you think you would have?
Man, God.
What did you say, Super Bowl?
Yeah,
he did.
NFC championship game.
Brian Dawkins beat Vic.
That was
Brian Dawkins hit Algie Crumpler.
Right, Brian Dawkins got them folks up out of there
in the snow. I was at that game. I remember that game. I was at that game with my Michael Vick jersey on.
Vic wasn't looking at the playbook yet.
But to say the least, I'm going with the Chiefs in this game. I think Andy Reid and them get it done. I do believe it's going to be a shootout. I don't think the defense of the Chiefs is as good yet as people believe. I do think the Honey Badger has made it to be an improvement. But the Texans, J.J. Watt is one of them cats, man.
He's broke down all the time.
Who can I compare? I don't want to say Peyton Manning because I don't want to disrespect Peyton and say like he didn't get it done in the clutch. Because I don't think Peyton didn't get it done in the clutch. I think his defenses, he always had to do more. He was coming into the game knowing he had to do more. You know what I'm saying?
You were all-time great.
But J.J. Watt in the clutch, he one of those cats. He gets those bullshit stats in the regular season. But when you really need him in the clutch, he's not making that play. So
and he's also that media darling too. I couldn't tell you how many times they had him focused in on the sidelines, focused in on the game. I was beyond sick of seeing J.J. Watt on TV for his first game back. Okay, give him credit. He was able to recover from the pec injury and was able to come back and help his team. But it's not all J.J. They forget about those other cats on that defense. And and I think Houston has missed Jadeveon Clowney as well.
Oh yeah,
in a big way. But it's. We all know the media can latch on several players, and they will never let him go. And J.J. Watt is one of those guys.
Well, he's going home this weekend. Kansas City will get it done.
Well, the media loves a great white hope.
I'm going 35-24 in that matchup. Then the final game of the weekend will take place in the frozen tundra up there in Lambeau Field. It'll be a little chilly up there, as Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers will be hosting Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf, breakout star who just destroyed the Eagles.
I try to tell you.
I mean, I wanted my Eagles to draft him. It haunted me every play watching.
The photo of the weekend.
Watching, I mean, he deserved to throw the piece up because we didn't take him. How he dropped the ball on that one right there. But Russ and Sierra are headed to Green Bay to take on the Cheesehead. So we'll get to see if the Hawks will be nibbling on some cheese this weekend, or if Aaron Rodgers and the gang will advance and he'll be able to maybe propel his team to another Super Bowl appearance. Same situation, gentlemen. Give me the MVP of the game and the score. 18. Let's start with you this go around, sir.
This was the game the Saints were supposed to be facing an opponent. It's not going to happen. Yeah, I'm still bitter.
Hurt.
I'm not over it yet. The weather is going to be 22 degrees.
It's going to be freezing
all day.
At game time, it's going to be very cold. Seattle plays outdoors. They're used to all types of different types of weather, so that's not going to be a problem for them. I think their MVP is going to be Marshawn Lynch. And here's why. Because I think Marshawn can run over any and everybody. It doesn't matter the age.
Y'all should know about that.
And,
Y'all should know about that.
Marshawn ain't gonna run through what do you say? Run through a face.
And I think Seattle, from an offensive standpoint, Seattle is a much better team. And I don't know if Green Bay's defense is as good as everybody seems to think they are. Whereas I think Seattle's defense is a little bit better. And that's not saying a whole lot either. But I don't think if you take away Devontae Adams from Green Bay's offense, then you're solely going to put it in the hands of their running backs. And I think Seattle will be ready to stop that. I think Seattle will win this game. I don't know if it will be a high-scoring game because of the weather. I'm thinking Seattle 24, Green Bay 13.
B. Diddy, who you like in this one?
I guess I go with Seahawks because I don't know about LeFleur. So I don't know how this is his first, real playoff action. Because didn't he come from Tennessee? Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So, saying. Then Aaron Rodgers hasn't really looked.
He was also with the Falcons.
Mm-hmm. That's okay. So I'm definitely going with the Seahawks. So he came with the Falcons. Good Lord. I already know their playoff. Their playoff pass has been terrible. Sorry, Frank. Yeah, so Aaron Rodgers hasn't been really the greatest this season. He's had an up and down year. He started off great, and it kind of tailed off, but it's been more of the running game with Aaron Jones and Jonathan Williams. And like you said, take away Devontae Adams, and can't count on Jimmy Graham.
No.
Because, good Lord, he can't get separation from nobody. And I don't know who else the receivers are. So
Geronimo Allison.
Oh, yeah, Geronimo Allison and whoever else. Other boy with the long last name, Lazard. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Russell. And I'll say 24. Yeah, 24-13, I guess. Beast Mode get 2 touchdowns.
I think the Packers are going to be playing March Madness all day.
Trying to be petty,
but I don't think it's going to work. I think honestly, I'm gonna go with the Seahawks, and I think Tyler Lockett has a ridiculous game.
Oh, you gonna remember
kick return, punt return, offense. I think he just goes off. Okay. So. But I'm going to go with the Seahawks in this one. I'm going to go 24-17.
I also like Seattle in this matchup. I look for DK to pick up where he left off last weekend. I think we see a star in the making in this gentleman. I believed in the NFL draft. Mm-hmm. I believe that the toughness is one thing you can say about the SEC. I've learned from moving down here and watching SEC football is those players damn sure coming to the NFL with grit and talent.
They're ready to go.
And I think Russ has found a gem. I think Russ has found a gem. I think he's found a receiver he's been looking for. I think Marshawn Lynch is going to have a key play, one of the plays that he's known for having. But I like DK to have 2 touchdowns and Russ and them to get it done 28-23 and move on to the final round.
They gonna double.
Gentlemen, before we wrap up in the NFL, it's been a lot of hoopla about the new coaching hires that have taken place in the NFL. A few teams, especially in my division, especially in the NFC East, have hired new coaches. The Cowboys, Mike McCarthy, former coach of the Green Bay Packers. That was a surprise. We see Washington, as we mentioned earlier, they have a new coach. Former Carolina Panther coach Ron Rivera is now the lead man in charge with Washington. A surprise that took place with the New York Giants, Joe Judge, a gentleman who I, no pun intended, don't want to judge or throw the gavel down on yet, but how he got his job is kind of iffy and up in the air. We know about the Cleveland Browns still looking for a candidate and a suitor there.
Only the Browns can.
As far as
what the Browns can't do for you.
They have the field to choose from, as we see. But we hear all these names and we see these positions being filled. And outside of Ron Rivera, who is a minority, so we'll acknowledge him. we don't see any African American coaches taking these leadership positions, and we know how the NFL is. It's 75% African American. So the majority of the players that are in the NFL are African American, but they aren't getting the adequate look or the proper look to be head coaches. Now, the Dallas Cowboys, should be mentioned, just brought over a new head coach, Mike McCarthy, and they did, however, interview Marvin Lewis, former head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. We see Eric Bieniemy with Coach Reed, gentleman who will be doing his thing this weekend with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, it's reports that the Giants did give him a look or interview him before they actually went ahead with Joe Judge. How you go with Judge over this gentleman, I don't know. That's not my philosophy. But quickly, gentlemen, what are your stance? And B, I'm going to start with you on this one. What are your stances of the state of the African American coach in the NFL? We see the success of Mike Tomlin. We see now in Miami, you have Brian Flores down there doing his thing. Jim Caldwell recently lost a job, so he's not, a member of the league.
What's the Lynn?
Anthony Lynn with the LA Chargers. But it's a very small group. What are your thoughts on the state of the African American coach in the league?
The Rooney Rule is trash. The Rooney Rule is trash. Like, all right, so it's always the first. As soon as the coach gets fired, let's go interview a black coach real quick, so we can say we did it. By the way, yeah. So all right, we interview you. All right, so we're not gonna really hire you. I really look at the guy who's probably never had an NFL job before, and we're gonna hire him. But the first thing the really first thing they have to do is get a GM. Like, the GM has to be solidified in a organization, so they can have somebody who can look to. And one of the owners has to take that. Who's gonna be the first owner to take the stance to hire a black GM and keep a black GM?
Ozzie was so big.
Yeah, Ozzie, and it was Rick.
Baltimore.
Rick Smith, what is his name? Who was in
Miami?
Miami. So those are only two black GMs I've ever heard in NFL since I've been alive. So 2 in 30 years is terrible. So until one of these owners has a black GM or a team president position, we're gonna still see the same thing. You're gonna have one of the coaches come and interview, not really get the job. If they do get the job, they're gonna probably be there 2 years. They get fired, and they're gonna go with the Great White Hope, and they go to the college rank and do something like that. So until we have somebody who gets a solidified stance and take the leap for real, it'll be the same. It'll be the same stance every year.
Craig, have you been surprised that black coaches weren't getting the look with so many openings and jobs being fulfilled so quickly?
Nah. Right now, no. That wouldn't be a surprise for me. I mean, if you want to be honest, I think we have to start with
coordinator position, at least first, besides defense.
The coordinator position. I mean, how many offensive, defensive coordinators, black offensive, defensive coordinators do you know?
They all assistant coordinators.
Like, look at Raheem Morris. He's been a head coach, yes, but he'll probably won't get another shot at it.
Byron
Leftwich is the OC. He maybe down the road he may get a shot. Eric Bieniemy, I think people are looking at him and they're like, well, Andy Reid calls the plays. Mm-hmm. But nobody said that when Doug Peterson got a job.
Or anybody come from the Bill Belichick
tree. Or Nagy.
Or Matt Nagy.
Or with the new coach of the Giants, who was a special teams coordinator.
Yeah, I mean, these are situations where black men are always going to be against the 8 ball in terms of what the expectations. So you have to, and I learned this as a kid. My parents told me this. Like, you have to work twice as hard to get half the job. You know what I mean? So it's like, for Eric Bieniemy, he's gonna have to win him a Super Bowl to get him the same opportunity that Doug Peterson got with less success. That's just how it is.
AT, what were your thoughts in seeing these roles close so quickly? And I mean, Ron Rivera, as we mentioned, he got a look, but it's like, wow, one.
Right. We get 1 out of 5.
And the guy who replaced him came from the college ranks, Matt Rule. From Baylor. And as it was said earlier, the Rooney Rule doesn't seem to be reaching the intended goal it was established to be. It was good in its inception, and I agreed with the push to get owners to consider. I'm not going to say force, to get them to consider to interview minority candidates because it really wasn't working at the speed that a lot of the coaches would have liked to have seen. And when we had, I think, as many as 8 or 9 black head coaches at one time, that number has decreased considerably since the last couple of years, and is now down to 3. And having worked in both pro sports leagues and on the college level, but certainly not in a position of being able to bring in a GM or a coach, I didn't have that kind of hiring power. I'm not sure if you're ever going to be able to force these owners in any way to rectify this problem. You're going to. I thought the owner, quite frankly, I thought the owner in Carolina would maybe do a little bit more of a search. I don't know much about Matt Rule. I know he turned around Temple, he turned around Baylor. Whether or not and he had a great press conference yesterday, but a press conference doesn't win you games.
I agree.
And you're able, as a buddy of mine and I were discussing as we were driving down to the Hawks game the other night, being able to recruit on the college level is 100 times easier than being able to formulate a draft and setting up a team in the NFL. Because now you're paying guys, you got all kinds of different attitudes coming in.
They make more than you.
And they make, exactly.
But not him.
And some guys, in this case, they certainly won't, well, most of them won't be. And it's disappointing that more minority candidates didn't get a look-see this time around, because they certainly hired these coaches as quickly as any year I've ever seen in my life. The Browns being the Browns, I'm not surprised. They're still muddling around with this situation. I can't understand why this franchise
They'll hire Tim Tebow as a coach.
has been in the position it's been in. Is there any wonder why they've had so many quarterbacks, so many coaches in up front office, and a loyal fan base that would love nothing better to see them succeed, but they have failed at every turn. And I don't know what Roger Goodell can do from a commissioner standpoint, because he's hired and paid by the owners, and ultimately the owners are the ones paying everybody's checks. So you're not going to be able to tell them anything out of the ordinary in terms of what they can do. And unfortunately for Eric Bieniemy, Cleveland may have a coach hired before Kansas City ends his playoff run, and so then he's going to have to wait. If he is that next guy, he's going to have to wait yet another season before he gets that opportunity. So and I think I heard somewhere this week where through one of the NFL insiders indicating that black assistant coaches now are so frustrated to the point of where they may now look at going to the college rank. That's even worse. Major colleges aren't hiring black coaches.
Especially blue blood.
Certainly. I mean, Herm Edwards had a fantastic year at Arizona State this year. Went to a bowl game, won a bowl game, and has certainly brought some has a nice quarterback. I think his last name is Johnson, who's a freshman and is going to be with him for a few years. And Marvin Lewis has had some influence on that team as well.
Lovie Smith.
And Lovie Smith going to a bowl game at Illinois. Now, Arizona went to a bowl game, but they didn't have the type of season everyone expected from
Kevin Sumlin.
But I'm not as high on black coaches being hired on the college level any more than I am on the NFL level, and because the goalposts always move. Everyone always said you needed to be a coordinator to get that next big job. Well, you do have a few coordinators around the league that have been in positions of authority and leaders of men, and the ability to call plays on their respective units. And those guys aren't even getting the chance to interview anywhere. And so I don't know what we're going to be able to do. You can only hope that someday, somewhere, there's enough African-American money clout that a black owner buys a team. There is some discussion with Denver, given the fact that the ownership group is a bit muddied right now with the death of Pat Bowlen and his kids, and who are lined in the trust, or have been having some issues with other board members who maybe want the team as well. And I think it's been speculated that there could be a split that forces, if both sides don't come to an agreement, they may have to sell. And the gentleman, familiar to those of us in Atlanta, who paid the debt for a lot of kids at Morehouse, has been one of the names tossed out there as a potential NFL owner. I don't know if he's interested in owning an NFL team, but he certainly has the money. And I think
doesn't.
there aren't. That's unfortunately for us. There aren't many of us who have that kind of money. Now, if you put together a consortium to buy a team, that's a different story. But this gentleman certainly has enough money to where he could be the signature owner of a NFL franchise if he chooses to do so. And if that's the case, that may be the first step.
I definitely agree with you there because, I mean, even the Panthers owner, first thing he said about Matt Rule was like, he's like me. You know, he's even though he said it in a it was like he's a pack rat like me and a like me.
Good old boy.
It still was like he like you. You wouldn't say that about me. I could be a pack rat, but you wouldn't say that about me.
Well, and see, I thought a little bit more of him, and I was surprised that he went that route in addition to paying Matt Rule that much money for an unproven
never been
NFL coach. But because he learned under the Rooneys. And so I didn't think there was any reason to rush to make that hire. If Matt Rule is still your guy at the end of the day, that's fine. But he knew who he wanted. He targeted him. Matt Rule was able to make the Giants' possibility work for him as well. And Tepper didn't decide to wait any longer and decide to bust that door through because now this cat is making his first game just as much money as guys like Belichick and Sean Payton.
And they ain't won a damn thing.
7 years, $60 million.
Ain't coached not one NFL game
with incentives that could push that up a little bit more.
$6 million buyout. Or the Phillies want me. Sixers want just to let you know that.
Well, we're going to talk some basketball in a brief moment. We're going to wrap up right here. And before we close out the show, we're going to talk NBA. We're going to talk Joel Embiid, Trae Young, and Luka All-Star bid. And then we're going to see if injuries will hurt the LA Lakers' chance at a championship. Before we close tonight's show, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back.